you can still optimize your assets.
A banking crisis that threatens recession, an ongoing war in Ukraine, and escalating tensions between the world's two largest economies. Experts say there has never been a better time to re-look your investment portfolio.
Spring cleaning is important, given that the conditions right now are fairly fluid with the potential banking crisis coming on. It would be good for investors to really understand what they have, whether there will be any potential casualties within their portfolio. But by and large, because, and I assume that investors have really understood why they invested in the stocks, what the businesses are all about. If they continue to have faith, hang it for the long term. But at the same time, if they feel that there are any guys that will see some hits or to be hit in the near term, maybe a good idea just to sell it off, keep some dry powder. And if there is any potential fallout, that is a good time to actually accumulate.
Investors should also periodically reassess their risk profile. They should not assume that the status quo will remain.
Over the past 10 years, a lot of individuals, a lot of investors have tilted towards what I deem as being overly aggressive. The markets have done well because of quantitative easing. Markets have done well because of virtually zero interest rate policies by the G7 central banks. So a lot of people tilted towards taking on more risk than they ought to. So basically, today is a time where one ought to be looking back into their portfolios and asking themselves, is this really my risk profile? Does it reflect my risk profile? If it doesn't, then basically I'm taking on more risk than I ought to. And coming at a period where we're going to enter into slower economic growth, potentially a recession. We've seen market volatility hit very extreme levels last year, where even stocks and even bonds fell. So a kind of a wake-up call for investors.
So if an investor wants to do some spring cleaning on their portfolio, where should they start?
First of all, to consolidate everything you have, to see what you have on an overall basis. So I guess tip number one would be really to consolidate all your investments, probably in one spreadsheet if it's possible. That would be the first step. Then the second step is really to go through the review on each and every one of these securities. On an overall basis, does it make sense to still hold them? Is the overall asset allocation one that kind of fits into your risk appetite?
Just as clutter gathers in our homes, there can also be a jumble of stocks and assets we've forgotten about in our investment portfolios.
I've got friends or clients coming to me and they show me their personal portfolio. And I look at it, there's like 100 stocks, and I'm not even exaggerating, 100 stocks out there. It took me a while to look at each one of them. And I already know that there is really no method to this madness. I'll tell this guy, I say, oh, look, this stock, you probably bought it in 2007, October, because I know that's when there was a frenzy for this stock. And after that, it just fizzled and, died off. Then he'll forget about it. And they'll go for the next wonder stock, right? Which also, what they planned for a short-term punt became a long-term investment. From top down, you need to look at whether you have equities, bonds, fixed income, and workout allocation.
After consolidating, it's time to revisit your financial goals. Are you looking for short-term gains or long-term nest building?
Do we need to now change it? Because there are situations where you don't need to change the portfolio. The portfolio may be one which was designed for 10, 15, 20-year time horizon. Your objective is to retire. I'm going to retire in 20 years' time. I'm using this portfolio basically over the long run. It's been designed to withstand what we call the cycles. So there are situations where you basically don't have to do anything or very little, but there are situations whereby along the way you might have tinkered a little bit with it, you might have deviated from the original objective, and those are the portfolios which I think the spring cleaning will help to identify.